behave yourselves, especially you, Jumbi, especially you. Okay. All right. Zoom is coming up. And here we are. And we're going to hear the music. I want everybody to pay attention. And here we go. Okay, everybody, wave hello to LinkedIn, wave hello to Facebook, wave hello to YouTube, and wave hello virtually to Voice America Business. Okay, Matt, send us the feed, and thank you very much.
All right, have a great show. Here we go.
Thank you.
Where does yesterday's future, which is already here, meet today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes away? Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
Thank you to the voice who introduces me, Bonnie D. in the house, technology future of now. Here we are, the revolution, the evolution, I don't know anymore. We're talking about what's going to happen. Today is an interesting topic. All of you around the world who are listening, watching, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, listening on the Voice America Business Channel, you're somewhere. You might be in a city. Is it a smart city? Does it sleep? Is it doing what you need it to do? Is it doing what you want it to do? We're going to be predicting today the future of smart cities and AI. You know, my theme this year and last has been the future of something and AI. We haven't covered smart cities in a while. I have a shout out to a young lady named Elle Welch, ELLE, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, who brought me the topic, and three of our esteemed guests today. And thank you, Elle, very, very much. So I'm going to start with my usual opening poem that I co-versed, that's poetry for wrote together, with ChatGPT. I will tell you all that I recently visited an emergency room. I'm fine. And they did a CAT scan of my head. And the doctor, who's 6'8" tall, bounded into the room at 10 at night. And he said, "I have good news for you, Bonnie. You have a brain." And I said, "Thank you very much." So as far as I can tell, ChatGPT is the LLM, large language model, the AI, the chat, whatever you want to call it. And I'm the human. So I asked ChatGPT to write the opening, and then I edited it. It took a lot longer for me to edit than it did for it to write. So let me start, and let's see where we're going to go with this. So when I call your name to my four esteemed guests, please wave furiously at the audience who can see you, and the waving of your hand will carry over to the sound waves on Voice America Business. They will hear you, okay? And I hope I do all your names pronounced correctly. So upon the airwaves, Bonnie D stands. I'm actually sitting, scarlet mic in her capable hands. The future of smart cities and AI, envisioning innovations that reach for the sky. That's the opening. In cities bright with technology sheen, AI orchestrates a futuristic scene. From data's dance to streets so smart, tomorrow's cities, technology crafted for a brighter start. Earth.org's top 7 smart cities in 2024 named Singapore, Helsinki, Zurich, and Oslo. Amsterdam, New York, and Seoul. Now let's see where our 4 futurists want to go. Now I'm going to read your names. Adam Robyak, wave hello. With knowledge profound, Dell's data science and AI he does expound. From clouds to twins and blockchain's array, a tech visionary lighting the way. Adam, I hope you like that.
I did indeed. Thank you.
I can rent it to you if you want to use it for other introductions. Brenna Berman. Brenna is back. I love having Brenna on the show. She's been on off and on for years. I'm so happy to see you. Brenna Berman, steering innovation grand. Strategic Partnerships EVP at Dense Air, she takes a stand. Envisioning urban scale sensing with array of things wide. She's solving global challenges with great urban pride.
Wow.
Brenna, I hope you
That's
like
awesome.
that. Good. Igor Jablokov, I got the Y in there. AI's pioneer. Voice recognition, he brings it in so clear. From Yap to Pryon, his inventions shine. A true luminary in tech design. Igor, I hope you like that. He smiled. Yay! And Jumbi Edulbehram, Space's Guide, NVIDIA's realms with AI allied. Smart cities with an intelligent brand, transforming landscapes with his expert hand. Jumbi, I hope you like. Oh, he's nodding. Good. Tune in now to listen or watch. Let the conversation unfold. The future of smart cities and AI predictions to be told. With Bonnie D leading the talk. In which smart cities will you walk the walk? What do y'all think? You like it? Adam,
I
what do you
love
think?
it. I love it. I
Good?
think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you, Brenna. I've never done poetry in the shows you've been on. What do you think?
Do it all the time. That's great.
Thank you very much. Igor, enjoy?
I like organic art.
Okay.
My parents are both artists, and the best part was you editing it, I think.
Thank
Frankly
you very
speaking.
much. Thank you. And by the way, the part about smart cities, I researched the 2024 smart cities and I added that little line this morning. That was all me, not ChatGPT. Jumbi, I hope you enjoyed your little verse there.
It's fantastic. There's a new breed of job categories where you would fit in perfectly, which is prompting to get the right answers.
Thank you very much. Yes, I've done a show on the future of prompt engineering and AI. Very, very interesting. They say AI will do its own prompting, so we won't need people like me, but I'm looking for jobs, so you can recommend me. So now what I'd like to do is let's go around the table and let's get the human bios. You all have 3 minutes to condense everything you've done in your entire professional life, but mainly my audience wants to know, who are you? Why are you interested in smart cities and AI? Why are you here today? And what kind of expertise do you bring to the table? So, Adam Robyak, I'm putting you on speaker view. Would you do me the honor, please, of formally introducing yourself? Welcome, Adam.
Thank you, Bonnie, and pleasure to all of the listeners and viewers out there. I'm Adam Robyak, and I lead our global data science and AI practice for our pre-sales organization at Dell Technologies. I've been in the industry about 25 years. I've had numerous roles, including working for startups during the dot-com era, running my own consulting organization, and then ultimately landed here at Dell Technologies. So excited to be here. I think it's interesting. The topic we're going to be talking about today with smart cities and the future and how AI can impact that is a really interesting one. And mainly to me, the reason why I'm so passionate about it is I spend a lot of time talking with state and local government customers. And one thing that seems to ring true to me is so often I hear these entities, these agencies, these organizations focus more on technology they want to release versus technology that enables the citizens, or taking feedback from citizens to understand what's going to impact them the most. And so I feel like if there's any way that I can help with bringing that viewpoint and allowing this technology to really make an impact for citizens as part of smart cities, smart communities, that type of environment, I'm all for it. So that's why I'm excited to be here and chat with everyone.
Thank you, Adam. Very interesting. How dare you bring the people part into smart cities and AI? What were you possibly thinking? Things that people want and need. Brighter tomorrow, as I said. In which city will you want to walk the walk? Absolutely. Thank you, Adam. Lovely introduction. A pleasure to have you here. Thank you for taking the time. And let's go to Brenna Berman. Brenna, you're next. So delighted to have you back. Go ahead. Brenna, I did the frequent guest audio audience-ometer for you this morning. And I discovered that since it's been a while since you've been on the show, there are 22.9376 people in the world who don't remember you. That's it. So you can
Where are they?
you can do a full bio for those, especially the
Great.
0.976, whatever I said. They really want to know. So Brenna, go ahead. Welcome
That
back.
portion of the person. Well, thanks for having me back, Bonnie. My name is Brenna Berman. I'm the EVP of Strategic Partnerships for Dense Air Networks, where we focus on deploying shared networks to drive stronger connectivity across cities and communities. We could talk all day today about all of the wonderful smart cities technologies. And if you don't have a solid connectivity base, none of them are actually going to reach their constituents. What took me to this job was actually more than 20 years working in and around cities. Chicago is my favorite. I was the CIO in Chicago for more than 8 years, where we drove all sorts of smart cities projects, from internal optimization projects to external ones, to make sure that residents could access the services that they needed and engage with their neighborhoods, empowered by these tools without the city's involvement. I left the city of Chicago to start my own company that was based on collaborative development of smart city solutions, because the problems that we're trying to solve, whether you're thinking about AI or IoT solutions oftentimes require actually more than two parties, right? That you have the city, you might have the technology provider, you're also going to have your utilities, local universities, environmental groups, citizen groups. They all have a voice at the table. And while it can take a little bit longer to develop that solution, you're better off with all of those parties at the table at once. I'm excited to be here as we begin to talk about what this AI journey for cities is really going to look like.
Again, people came in, groups of citizens. My goodness,
Yeah.
we've got a new start here with you and Adam. My goodness, the idea that people would have something to say about what their cities are doing.
Yes.
Unbelievable. I'm going to quote Vizzini from The Princess Bride, the wonderful Wallace Shawn. Inconceivable. I'm sorry, I don't do a good Wallace Shawn. Thank you very much. Igor Jablokov, welcome. So happy to have you here. We'd love to hear from you. Who are you? What is your company? And what's your passion for smart cities
Sure.
and AI? Welcome.
Sure. Yeah, in terms of my background, I used to lead the multimodal research team at IBM, where we discovered the baby version of Watson, but they didn't want to greenlight it. And so in my frustration, I departed, stood up our last company, which a half a decade later was Amazon's first AI-related acquisition that birthed what many people know as Alexa. So Alexa is my older sister's name, and the code name for it, incidentally, was Pryon.
That's so
Wow. So tell me about smart cities. What do you do? What are you here to talk about?
Yeah, so the thing with Pryon is we wanted to catch our own football. We knew that natural language experiences would come to more serious pursuits, and certainly nothing's more compelling and rewarding than supporting our respective communities that are a hodgepodge of civic services, academic institutions, NGOs, and charitable works that seek to support them as well. And so we called it over half a decade ago, hey, let's go ahead and bring this style of experience to what we would call more critical infrastructure to support essential workers, and to figure out how to unify all the knowledge that they have and essentially reduce the distance between knowledge and people obviously come in different flavors, including constituents, right? A perfect example that we can double click on later is everything that we knew about the pandemic was changing on a daily basis, and hospital systems, our civic institutions, our academic institutions needed to figure out how to get the best intelligence possible individuals as we were discovering, this tragedy on a daily basis as well. And that essentially laid bare the stark example of why you want to try to find more efficient ways of bringing attributable and trusted knowledge to everybody. And by the way, you even see this on a world stage outside of our smart cities, because you see, a mess of refugees that get affected, in Eastern Europe, that get affected in Africa, that get affected in the Middle East and other places where we have natural disasters and things of that sort. How do they quickly know where to get food and water and shelter, and transportation and things of that sort? So that's some of the stuff that we can talk about today.
Thank you very much. So you're one of the fathers of Alexa. What was that? Just quickly, what we're all saying, what? I didn't know that. What was that like being on that forefront, on that cusp of something that is now part of the infrastructure of our daily lives? Igor, just briefly, a little bit.
Yeah, it was surreal, because I mean we were even trying to install it on some work that we were doing with Sony and Toshiba that eventually became the PlayStation 3 when I was at IBM. And when I proposed that we add a microphone on the PlayStation, everybody was laughing their heads off, saying nobody's going to have a microphone in their house. And so they thought it was mission impossible. And then one of the curious things, if any of your listeners ever watched HBO's comedy Silicon Valley, they lampooned a conference called TechCrunch Disrupt. Well, I presented at the very first one in 2007, and I'm going to tell you a piece of trivia that most folks don't know. I walked on stage, I pulled a Razr flip phone out of my pocket. This is before the iPhone was released. I spoke into a device and it talked. What nobody knew at the time is we were secretly working on Siri with Apple. And this is before they acquired the SRI spinoff team as well. So the point is, in all of the great brands that we all represent, whether it's NVIDIA, whether it's Dell, whether it's Apples and IBMs and things of that sort that we would consider more legacy brands, this inclination to creating accessible interfaces that essentially turn the tables around where I want to connect the dots on Adam's and Brenna's introduction already, which is in the past to deal with a computer, you had to be a mathematician or computer scientist. You had to get heavy training. The beauty and why I'm so passionate about natural language is it turns the table around and makes it democratizes access to that computing power because everybody knows how to talk, everybody knows how to type.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the trivia. That's actually very, very fascinating. Igor, pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much. Jumbi, here you are. We want to know who you are. Talk to the world. Jumbi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, pleasure to be on this show. So I'm the head of business at NVIDIA that we call Smart Cities and Spaces. And in our business, we collaborate with large cities, public agencies, large public spaces such as airports, seaports, and stadiums that are essentially like little cities by themselves. And we work on the use of AI for a whole range of applications for operational efficiency, safety, etc. In our business, to be honest with you, and the reason I got really passionate about AI when it started happening a few years ago, and people started calling it artificial intelligence. To me, there was nothing really artificial about it. It's, real technology. So I actually think of it more as assistive intelligence. That is, providing managers, operators, and officials with accurate and timely information to make better decisions. So at NVIDIA, we have a large ecosystem of partners that create all kinds of wonderful smart city applications based on our fundamental AI technology. And, given the rates at which the world is rapidly urbanizing, soon 60-70% of the world's population is going to live in urban areas. These applications that make citizens' lives better are, urgently needed.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to have you. And I'm very impressed with my panel. I know Brenna. I'm just meeting Adam and Igor and Jumbi for the first time, and I appreciate all of the real human intelligence. And I like the idea of assistive, Jumbi, because when I write those poems, by the way, does anybody have any idea how long it takes when I say, write me an opening poem? I'll give it a couple of lines. I gave it the full bio for you, Adam, your full bio, Brenna, your full bio, Igor, and your full bio, Jumbi. How long did it take for ChatGPT, excuse me, to give me back the core poem that I then edited? Adam, quickly, how long do you think it took?
30 to 40 seconds.
Okay, Brenna, how long?
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. Less than a minute.
Igor?
I would say 5 seconds.
Jumbi?
Yeah, I'd say about 5 to 10 seconds.
Okay, there's a debate with my with a friend named Dan Geller. His company is called Renegades Agency. If you don't know him, look him up on LinkedIn. Very interesting guy. And he started a debate on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago. Should we be polite to ChatGPT and other LLM? Should we say please and thank you? And would you please? And I appreciate this. I was raised to be a polite kid. Okay, New York girl, nice parents. And they said, be nice to people. So to me, it's a colleague, ChatGPT, so I'm polite. So the theory was if you're not polite, you just say, write this, do this, it will be faster. Well, I continue to be polite, Dan Geller, I want you to know. And the speed with which ChatGPT has been responding has sped up. So if you all know how to count by seconds, we used to go 1,000, 2. Remember, it used to take 3.5 seconds for ChatGPT to respond. Now, Igor and Jumbi, it responds in just about 2 seconds flat. It returned the entire poem to me with everything you heard about yourselves from the condensation of the bios that I sent. I didn't edit your bios. I just input them. It just took it in, it gave it back, and then I went through it and edited it, and it took me a few minutes. So I just wanted you to know. So I continue to be polite because it's more efficient and faster. I just wanted to say that. Now, here's a part of the show where you've each sent me a quote from a fictional character in a movie or a TV show or a song lyric, and you're going to take about 2 minutes because we have so many predictions to talk about. Relate your quote to the topic, please. Smart cities and AI. And by the way, I have a quick example of a non-smart city, if I may. I got a demand letter, a real physical letter in the mail, okay, from the city of, I'm going to name it, from somewhere in the state of Maryland. And they demanded $1.46 from me. It was an official letter. And they had a picture of a license plate going through a toll in the state of Maryland that didn't have, apparently the person didn't have Easy Pass, okay? And they demanded that on February 5th, I was there and they had a picture of the license plate and it was a Tennessee plate and it looked like mine. And I got the letter in the mailbox and I looked at it. And then I went in the garage and looked at my car. Well, a human being had transposed the letters in the beginning of the license plate so that instead of BLN, it was BNL was on the plate they captured. My plate starts with BLN. So I called the number and a human being answered the phone at 6 o'clock last night Eastern time, which is unbelievable for a city that has city employees that were working after 5 o'clock. And the woman on the phone checked the computer and she said, you know, you're right. The computer had a glitch. Well, the computer didn't have a glitch. A human being entered my license plate wrong into the data for the computer to give it back. And it went with what she entered. It checked DMV. It told me it had my name, the make and model of my car, and it sent me a demand for $1.46. So I said, how do we resolve this? She's putting in a request for a dispute on my behalf, a dispute, not we're taking it off the record and sending it to, we're disputing it. And now I have to wait and see if the state of Maryland will acknowledge the dispute and send the demand for $1.46 to the person who owns the BNL license plate. I just want you all to know. So much for a city and people being smart. We'll leave that one alone. Adam, here's the quote you sent me. This is from Mikey, played by Sean Astin, the movie The Goonies, 1985 adventure comedy film. Sean Astin, Josh Brolin, who just hosted SNL a week ago, Jeff Cohen, Corey Feldman, all kinds, Martha Plimpton, love her, and blah, blah, Ann Ramsey, Joe Pantoliano, and blah, blah, blah. A group of kids living in the Goondocks of Astoria, Oregon, attempt to save their homes from foreclosure. They discover an old treasure map. They go on an adventure to unearth the long-lost fortune of One-Eyed Willie, who was a pirate in the 17th century, but there's a family of criminals who want the treasure. There we go. Produced by Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment. Here we go. Okay. It made $125 million on a budget of $19 million. Good movie. Here's the quote. Adam picked a long one. Don't you realize the next time you see Sky, it'll be over another town. The next time you take a test, it'll be in some other school. Our parents, they want the best of stuff for us. But right now, they've got to do what's right for them because it's their time. Their time up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here. That's all over the second we ride up Troy's bucket. I have no idea what this means. Adam, 2 minutes related to our topic, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, gotta love that movie. It's a childhood cult classic. I can't tell you how many times I've watched it, and I still am never tired of watching it over and over again. When I think about that quote and how it relates to our topic with AI and the future of smart cities and smart communities, to me, it really is our time, right? It's the citizens' time. It's the technology's time to shine. There's so much negative press. There are so many naysayers, and there's so many challenges that are out there around this technology and thoughts around what may not be possible. I like to think about it as being our time to think about what is possible and capitalizing on the moment, right? And so if we think about just kind of that challenge that the Goonies were going through and the need to rise above and figure out how they could save their homes, save their families, save their finances. I look at AI and Jumbi's point from earlier around it being about augmentation or intelligent assist, right? And finding the right way to leverage this technology to improve the lives of citizens, constituents, even employees of state and local government entities and agencies to really drive the future in a positive direction. And so if we can take and seize on that opportunity right away and start driving the positives, we can hopefully prevent some of the negatives and leverage this technology to our advantage.
Thank you. Very, very well put. Appreciate the quote. I haven't seen the movie, but now I have to. Brenna Berman has picked a classic quote from a classic movie, Dr. Emmett Doc Brown, played by Christopher Lloyd. Back to the Future Part 2, 1985 sci-fi hit comedy film. It turned into a franchise, actually. We all know about Marty McFly and the DeLorean and all that good stuff. So here's the quote. We love this one. Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. Brenna, how does this relate to our topic? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think there's two ways it relates. Two ways it relates. The first is we don't know exactly what infrastructure we're going to need in the future, where we need it, who's going to need what. And to be honest, we're already seeing that evolution underway coming out of the pandemic, right? Our roads became restaurants. In Chicago, we used a parking garage to host the Civic Opera because their theaters were closed. So infrastructure is not being used anymore for what it was built for. It's being repurposed to the needs of people today. AI comes into play when you're trying to actually decide how to do that, right? It's interesting to think about how we would model. Most cities are hovering around 40% of office space has been reoccupied since the pandemic. What are we going to do with that other 60%? What's the optimal use for it? What can we fund? And so using AI to help drive that transition and to really figure out in the future, will we need roads? Right? I grew up in the age of the Jetsons, where I'm pretty still disappointed I don't have a flying car, and they didn't have roads, right? They had landing pads. So we continue to build infrastructure based on, to be honest, outdated models, and that has to change. And one of the biggest drivers of that change is actually going to be climate change, right? What's above water today may not be in just 5 years from now. So how do we restructure the infrastructure we have, and how do we plan for the infrastructure that we need tomorrow to best use our resources and meet people's needs? And I think AI is a key answer to how we get there in an efficient and effective way.
Thank you, Brenna. So well put. I appreciate that. Yes, infrastructure we need, infrastructure. We don't know what we need to do with it. How do we imagine it? How do we envision it? How do we get our brains to wrap around something that is not today, that is not comfortable, that is not the usual roads? Very well put. Thank you so much. And I'm going to Igor. Igor has sent a quote from Algorithm, a song by the English rock band Muse from 2018. This is the first track from their 8th studio album called Simulation Theory, released in 2018. Algorithm is a retro futuristic. That's an interesting conundrum there, Igor. Retro future, looking back and looking forward, industrial sounding song in common with the overall theme of the album. The name was first mentioned by lead singer Matt Bellamy while speaking with Matt Wilkinson on Beats One Radio in 2018. The song blends classical romantic piano with 1980s synths and boy, this is a tongue twister, and computer game music. Interesting. He said it's about an intelligence, be it human or artificial, that realizes it lives in a simulated reality and controlled by its creator. I'm going to stop there. Here's the quote from the song. And Igor, if you want to sing it, be my guest. I don't know the melody. I try not to sing on my shows. Usually stops the show cold. We are caged in simulations. Algorithms evolve, push us aside, and render us obsolete. This means war with your creator. Ooh, I got goosebumps. Igor, rescue me. What does this mean?
Yeah, and I think I provided you that quote before I went to the Ukrainian front lines. So I wasn't in a happy mood with the congressional delegation. And there, the paradox, you just said retro-futuristic. I mean, what they're experiencing there is World War I era trench warfare mixed with the latest advancements in defending their nation. And so when you connect the dots to our discussion here on smart cities, it was both distressing and uplifting to see them trying to maintain civic services and refugee services and maintain their schools and hospitals and things of that sort, and in one of the most adverse environments on planet Earth. And so that really really puts it in perspective in terms of us talking about a city that's well managed like Chicago or New York or any of them that we want to talk about. It's different when you're trying to do sanitation and have clean water and make sure the trains are running on time, when you have to worry about hyper rockets and artillery shells and sabotage and things of that sort as well. So it was, like I said, both distressing and uplifting to see humans trying to keep their form of civilization, operating in that such an environment. And that's why, I thought of that quote, because one of the biggest curses that you could ever befall somebody is when they get exactly what they wanted. So we talk about how how great it would be if we had some of these things, but again, when you take these tools and start putting them in heavier constructs, when they meet humankind, it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
Be careful what you ask for. Isn't that the old mantra? Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. Thank you very much, Igor. I appreciate it. Interesting quote. Yes, retro-futuristic. I have to keep that in mind. Jumbi has picked a 3-word quote. We always like the short ones. I'm short too, Jumbi. This is from Yoda, voiced by Frank Oz, The Empire Strikes Back, 1980 epic space opera film. I still haven't figured out what a space opera is, but there we go. It's Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, the sequel to Star Wars, the second film in the Star Wars film franchise, and the 5th chapter of the Skywalker saga. We all know Yoda is a fictional character in the universe. First in the 1980 film, small green humanoid alien, powerful with the Force and a leading member of the Jedi Order. I do a terrible, terrible Yoda. He's the mentor of Obi-Wan Kenobi and lives in exile on the swamp planet of Dagobah. He trains Luke Skywalker in the ways of the Force until his death at age 900. I have a friend whose mom just celebrated 99 and she's thrilled. 900, I couldn't imagine. My mom lived to 100 years, 1 month, and 15 days. In living alone in her own apartment. What can I tell you? Playing mahjong and bridge and piano the day before. It was just an amazing life. Here's the quote. Jumbi, 3 words. Feel the Force. Jumbi, what are we feeling here in smart cities? Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason I chose this quote is that, AI, quite similar to a lot of other major sort of technological advancements like the telegraph, for example, needs to be developed and deployed, for the betterment of society, just to put it in a sort of grand way. But it's a really, really powerful technology that's going to have pretty significant impact on businesses, government agencies, and even our everyday lives. We use AI literally every day without even realizing that there's a bunch of AI models running in the background. So right now we're still at a stage where people, companies, public agencies are trying to figure out how to really harness this force for making existing tasks that we do today much more efficient. And then, of course, deploying new applications that have never before been possible. For example, like the example you gave of the number plate having to be manually entered. AI can assist with that because it can automatically recognize the number plate and automatically send out a ticket to the right person, as opposed to someone making a mistake as they're entering it manually.
I had to, Jumbi, when I got the letter, I said to myself, where was I on February 5th? I have not left the state of Tennessee in a year and a half since I moved here. Okay. Did somebody borrow my car? Did somebody steal my car? Did I take it for servicing? Because sometimes when people get new cars, they go for a joyride. If it's at a dealer, I've had that happen where my car was clocked at 100 on the Long Island Expressway years ago, my sports car. It was a kid at the gas station who decided to check out the new tires, and he was clocked by an off-duty policeman on Brenna on the Long Island Expressway. And I got a notice that my car had been doing 100. I said, well, that's nice. At least I know it can go fast, but I wasn't the driver. So anyway, it was just but it was funny how the woman blamed the computer. The computer didn't transpose. The letters were it wasn't even the bottom of the plate said Knox for Knoxville. Mine doesn't say that. So I knew it wasn't my plate. Thank you very much for the quotes, everyone. Appreciate even the dark one, Igor. I appreciate that very much. I have to listen to the band. I'll do it when I'm in a happy mood. Now we're going to go to the predictions part of the show. You've each generously and graciously sent me 4 predictions. I'm going to pick one from each of you. Adam, I've already keyed in one in the chat privately for you. I'm going to read it. Adam's going to take 2 to 3 minutes. We won't clock you, but keep it tight, please. And if anybody has anything to comment, that's Igor, Jumbi, or Brenna, on Adam's prediction, I think you all have 10 fingers, and one of them in the middle I don't respond to. That's the mean one. But any other finger, wiggle a finger at me, and I will see it, and I will call on you for a 1-minute commentary, rebuttal, whatever you want to call it. Just be nice. Adam says in prediction number 4, the future of, and Igor is going to appreciate this one. The future of human-machine communication will evolve beyond hands on a keyboard to spoken language interaction with digital, human-powered AI systems, allowing for inclusivity and accessibility for all citizens. Let's run with that a little bit. Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, so boy, you picked a good one to start with, right? So along the lines, I think of what I've been saying all along, when we think about the adoption of AI technologies from a citizen use perspective, I think about some of the examples I've heard recently around digitizing driver's licenses. And I stop and ask myself, what value does that bring me as a citizen, right? If it's a digital driver's license that's inclusive of things like connecting to my insurance and my mortgage and my fishing license, and I can renew everything all at once. Like, there's real value and tangible use for me as a citizen when it comes to that. But just digitizing my driver's license does absolutely nothing for me, at least from my perspective. So when I start to think about the use of AI in the future of smart cities and smart communities, I think about how we as citizens want to interact with and interface with AI technologies. You know, the things that Igor mentioned that he's been working on are incredible, and they're a prime example of the evolution and the direction that I think society is going towards how they want to interface with AI in the future. And if we think about that, there's all kinds of challenges. There are people with disabilities. There are people that as they age don't see as well. There are people that can't type. There are multilingual and globally inclusive cultures now in almost every city across the globe that speak a multitude of languages. All of these things are preventative for being able to use technology, as Brenna mentioned earlier, in the way that we've always deployed it, which is sitting in front of a keyboard, typing in English, and expecting answers to come out. And so I think as that technology evolves and we start to look at the way that citizens want to embrace and use AI for smart cities and smart communities, being able to say what you want, being able to speak what you want and do it in your native tongue and do it in a conversational approach and leverage the technologies that are available to make that a reality is going to become the forefront of adoption for this technology.
Thank you very much. Any commentary? Jumbi, you're nodding up and down. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, cities have a large amount of data that they can make accessible to citizens. But so far, that's been really difficult to do for two reasons. One is, it's difficult to get all these disparate sources of data in a form that can be easily, given to citizens, made accessible to citizens. And two, yeah, the interfaces, like Adam was saying, I mean, many citizens need many different ways of interacting with the systems. And the easiest way, as Igor said earlier, is obviously natural language. And, AI now gets us to a point where, like human beings transact with each other when you go to a window in a, city office and talk to the person and say, hey, I need XYZ, you'd be able to talk to an avatar that's exactly like a human sitting at home in any language, and they'll understand what you're saying and give you what you need. So yeah, it's a huge sea change from the way citizens have been accessing services.
Thank you. Igor, any comments, or Brenna? Anybody?
I have a quick one. I think that in large part, I agree with what Adam and Jumbi are saying, but I also think it's important for people to realize that cities have a broad spectrum of capabilities and what they can do. And a lot of the examples that Adam and Jumbi just talked about, the future examples actually exist today in certain cities. They're not perfect. They're not necessarily widely adopted. And so what I think some of the biggest challenges around AI are going to be is not so much their implementation and their implementation with a lens towards equity, but their scalability to drive equity across an entire city. And Jumbi's comment about, you know, the amount of data that cities have is a really good one in that point. There's a number of cities across the US and the world that have actually published almost all of their data, right? The exception being personally identifying information that should not be published. They've enabled that as much as they can. You know, they're not publishing PDFs, they're publishing downloadable, analyzable files. The challenge is, right, that's incredibly useful information, say to a community group that's trying to advocate for better air quality in their neighborhood. That community group likely does not have the capacity to analyze that raw data unless they engage someone from a university or something like that. So thinking about sort of almost this derivative idea of enablement is cities can put tons of services and data, et cetera, out into their citizens' hands. The flip side of that is citizens need to be educated and empowered to receive that and utilize it, or we actually really haven't improved things all that much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? We good? Adam, thank you for the conversation starter. I hope we did you well by all the comments. Appreciate that. Brenna, Berman, I'm going to your prediction number 4. I like this one. Brenna's talking about, interesting, cities will compete on AI skills and invest in their development. So this is focusing on the entity, the thing called AI, not just the people using it, but cities will want to do more with it. Brenna, what kinds of things, who's competing? Is this already today? Talk to us.
Yeah, no, and I think this isn't so much the city's ability to adopt and utilize AI in internal operations, right? Cities are competing based on the skill sets of their residents, right? And so the cities that are going to be most successful, that are going to have job growth, that are going to attract, you know, relocating headquarters, et cetera, drive more startups, are the ones that actually are going to have a ready and educated and evolving, right, AI educated workforce, right? And whether that's, you know, how AI applies to manufacturing or consumer goods, or AI as a development technology in and of itself, the cities that win, quote unquote, are going to be those cities that figure out how to adopt AI skill sets into their overall educational curriculum, so that their residents are not just AI ready in terms of their role as residents or citizens in the city, but that they're essentially at this point, children today are growing up with this concept and understanding that AI is going to be a key part of their job, whatever kind of job they're thinking of. I think the flip side of that is, and that will be true, I think, for workforces in general, that you are going to have cities that actually compete on how AI enabled the city itself is. And the winners are not necessarily going to be those cities that adopt AI sort of across an extensive set of use cases. I do think you're going to have individuals choosing the city that they live in based on that level of adoption. Some people like me, and I'm going to guess, you know, my fellow panelists, right, are excited about the operational efficiency that could come from my city through AI. There are going to be people who actually are, for all sorts of reasons, interested in living in cities that have chosen not to do that, or not to do that as extensively.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the gallery here? Anybody want to add something? Jumbi, please.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, what we see is, you know, to Brenna's point, AI has kind of become, or is becoming, very quickly becoming, a sort of economic development strategy for cities, regions, and even countries, right? So countries, even at the country level, they're investing in AI capabilities for a whole, you know, range of applications for citizens, for all kinds of stuff, right? And at the city level, what we're finding is, you know, empowering citizens. You know, Brenna made a really good point. It's all very well to, you know, offer these kinds of services, but citizens need to be educated and empowered to be able to use these services, right? So empowering citizens with the basic knowledge of AI, and then, of course, upskilling your workforce to be able to take advantage of the new categories of jobs that are going to be created in this sort of new AI-driven economy is going to be super critical.
Thank you very much. AI-driven economy. Yes, 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 yes. We don't want to be afraid of it. We want to leverage it. We want to Let it help us be more intelligent about the lives we want to be living in the places in which we want to live. I'm going to move on. Brenna, thank you for that. Igor, I'm looking at your prediction number 3, very timely. Brenna mentioned climate change and some of the comments she already made. I think we need to address this with what's going on especially in this country on the West Coast. His prediction is AI will smooth out spikes in demand, especially during emergency conditions like forest fires, natural disasters, and the like. Igor, take 3 minutes and then let's go around the table. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's what I consider the day-to-day operations of any civic institution, even at the state level, even at the federal level. But then we always have these curveballs, black swans events. Everybody calls them unpredictable, but they're not unpredictable. They just show up. And so you have to, I'm sure, Brenna did a mess of scenario planning for the things that were known, potential disasters. But then those plans you're going to be able to use, as mental models when you have a new condition that you've never experienced before. And so look, a perfect in those scenarios, if the humans are busy literally putting out fires, wouldn't it be nice if you had some form of automation that can tell you where you're supposed to go and where's the risk going, and it's being kept in real time. And of course, you can have even a sensor network out there, so that you can respond to real-time changes in the ecosystem. The other thing is the AI has to be smart about triaging, right? There's always going to be scarcity of AI accelerators. So load balancing this thing, so it's putting capacity to where it's needed the most is helpful, because look, you may be, I hate to say this, these things take a lot of power. Bonnie, your poem that you created, you said came back in 2 seconds. Yes. That essentially took the same amount of power, roughly speaking, Jumbi, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the equivalent of 30 minutes of 100-watt equivalent LED light bulb in terms of the firepower associated with it, plus or minus an order of magnitude. I know you can correct me, but if you're losing access to power plants and some portions of your power grid because of these natural disasters, you don't want to be answering questions about what your sanitation pickup schedule is anymore when you have these other things that you need to solve for folks. And so what I tell folks when they're starting to address QA systems and things of that sort, just getting an answer out of one of these chatbots or digital humans, that's like tossing a paper airplane, across the room. That's completely different from turning that service into something that's high availability, into something that's resilient. Essentially, what Airbus is and what Boeing is supposed to be, right? From a paper airplane.
Thank you very much. Paper airplanes. Yes. Somebody on one of the shows I was watching just took a paper and flew it across the table never mind, it was a detective show. Anyway, thank you very much. Any comments from anybody about what Igor said about AI triaging, AI coming in for disasters, helping with responses? And yes, I am guilty of using ChatGPT and using up a lot of computing power. And Igor, we don't think about that on an everyday basis, do we? We just do it.
Yeah.
Any comments? Jumbi, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Adam. No, I was going to say, maybe I'll dive into one of the other predictions I had, but you may ask about it. But very related to what Igor just said. One, AI is very good at giving you real-time information on something that could be happening, so that response could be much faster. But 2, it's also very good at simulating what might happen in the future. So, for example, we have one partner that simulates forest fires based on the conditions of the vegetation. And once you do that simulation, you can actually simulate the responses to it too, and show to people what might happen so they can respond to it faster.
Interesting. Yes. Show me, right? Show me an example. Show me what can happen. Interesting. Thank you, Igor. Good conversation started there. And I'm going to go to Jumbi's prediction number 1. And we've got 7 minutes left to the show. So let's wrap up with this. Jumbi says, citizen services will be enhanced by AI. Listen up. Citizen services include virtual assistants, self-service portals, oh, be still my heart, reports, and contract summarizations, content generation for tourism, we haven't even mentioned that, etc. Jumbi, take 2.5, 3 minutes tops, and then we're going to close. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Some of this, we've already talked about, but, AI can make citizen services much easier and streamlined in really two ways, right? One is that cities will be able to easily organize all the disparate sources of data. And this could be, legal data, tax data, land use data, etc., but also data from other sources like pictures, videos, audio calls to cities, etc., and make all that information accessible and searchable, right? And two, it'll be possible to offer all these services through natural language interfaces supporting multiple languages, which greatly increases access, right? So citizens will be able to do transactions like paying bills in a much more seamless and intuitive way. And importantly, they'll be able to access all the data that can be analyzed to address issues such as, for example, homelessness, right? So, it's not that citizens haven't been able to do all these things. AI just makes it much easier. And like I said, it's really assistive intelligence for citizen services.
Thank you very much. We've got 5 minutes to close. Let's see if we have any comments about citizen services, self-service. What an idea. Brenna, anything on your mind? You look like you want to say something.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is two things. One, what Jumbi just described is what cities have been trying to do for a long time, right? The mayor that I worked for, his favorite saying was he wanted people online and not in line. Because if they're in line getting a permit, they're not out running their business. If they're in line, trying to pay a bill, they're not working their job or playing with their family. And so that one mantra was what drove a lot of our modernization efforts. There were, I'm talking 10 years ago, so there were limitations then in what we could do, and AI is breaking down a lot of those borders. So I think that what's most exciting about this point in time and the way that AI, large language models, and are sort of reaching almost like, I almost want to say sort of consumer availability, in the sense that, right, we don't need an army of scientists in each city anymore to build these things, right? So cities will be able to achieve that vision now with a much lower hurdle than they were, and ideally that will free cities up to focus on higher touch, higher need residents that need a deeper level of service, rather than spending time messing up license plates, Bonnie, like yours, or changing somebody's mailing address, right? No human should be spending their time on that kind of thing.
Thank you very much. Yes, the repetitive tasks, the Charlie Chaplin on the assembly line. Yes, we want to. Although some people actually still enjoy doing that. And what would we do if we didn't have Lucille Ball and Vivian Vance doing the chocolates on the? Yes, I mean we would miss out on all that comedy of what used to be. Anybody have a quick comment on what Jumbi proposed, or on his Adam or Igor? Anything? I've got 1 minute for comments. Anybody? Okay, I'm going to make a prediction. My prediction is that I'm going to invite all of you back for part 2, because we have a lot of predictions we didn't cover. All I'm going to need from each of you is a new movie or song quote. Igor, let's hope you're in a happier mood when you get ready for your quote. I have about 50 quotes I can share for inspiration if anybody needs them. And I'm going to propose that as soon as the show's over, I'm going to take wonderful pictures of all of us in the group that I can send to you, and that we're going to do another shout out to Elle Welch for bringing me Adam and Igor and Jumbi, and that you're all going to graciously accept my part 2 invitation. And Igor, I want to do a show on the future of the ability to use a microphone for humans to speak to AI, on the origins of Siri and Alexa. If you're willing to come on, Igor, and bring me some of your colleagues to talk about that particular topic, I'd love to do that in the summer or fall. Those are my predictions. So I want to do a shout out to Matt Widener at Voice America, our engineer today. I want to do a shout out to, we had a record number of people watching the show on LinkedIn. I'm not talking millions, but I'm talking a number that I've never seen before. It's actually in the teens. means. I don't usually get that many live viewers. So something about this topic just hit, and I appreciate that very much. I want you all to raise a finger. We're going to do on the count of 3. You're going to join me in a very loud no, no, no. Igor and Adam and Brenna and Jumbi, raise your finger on the count of 3. Join me. People say the future is already here. And our comment is, come on, bring that finger up. 1, 2, 3. No, no, no. No. No, join me. No,
No, no.
no. Igor, say no, no, no. No, no, no. There we go. He won't say it. Okay. That's because that was yesterday's future. Today's future hasn't happened yet. The sentence I just gave was in my mind for the future, and it's already over and gone. Bonnie D signing off. This has been Technology Revolution, the future of now. Wherever you are, if you want your city to be smart, take a look and see what's going on, see what the services are, see who the people are, make sure that it's meeting the needs of people that they don't even maybe know what their needs will be tomorrow and the day after. Let's all make it a better one. Bonnie D signing off. Everybody wave goodbye. Guests don't go away. We're going to take pictures. Okay. Matt, are we out?